Beauty and the Beast is hands down one of my favorite animated films. These are movies that I remember from my childhood and still love even as an adult. It's become a tradition for me around the holidays where I rewatch films that I loved in childhood, so this includes the first two Home Alone films and some of the Disney classics. The past few years, I've watched Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King around the holidays. There have been some good animated films in recent years, but the soundtracks tend not to be as noteworthy. With Beauty and the Beast, there are several songs that I love. Bonjour with this infectious melody and cute lyrics is incredible. And then you have the ridiculousness of Gaston, which perfectly fits the character and his sidekick. Beauty and the Beast is an absolutely beautiful song. It's not even a cartoon song, but rather a full-on ballad featuring Celine Dion and Peabo Bryson. They outdid themselves with this movie, and it certainly deserved the awards that it won. In recent years, there's certainly been some good films, but I think Disney has passed the torch to some degree as Pixar and DreamWorks have kind of taken up the mantle with animated films. But I still can't think of too many movies matching Beauty and the Beast soundtrack, and certainly not the movie itself. Maybe it's because what I saw as a kid, but Disney's style of animation compared to Pixar and DreamWorks computer animation just hits different. Beauty and the Beast came out during Disney's revival period in the 80s into the 90s, where there was where this style of animation had a resurgence. Now, granted, I'm pretty sure that they probably don't make films like this anymore because it's prohibitively expensive. Because even with the computer animated films of the present, you hear about these crazy budgets. But it's very nostalgic for me seeing this style of animation. Visually, Beauty and the Beast is stunning. It reminds me of picture books that I would get as a kid. Belle is the center of the story, but unlike many of the other traditional Disney films that revolve around a princess, technically Belle isn't a princess. She's one of the few, in addition to maybe Cinderella, who doesn't start out as a princess but becomes one. With several of the other Disney films, the heroine is saved, or at least things turn around after meeting a Prince Charming type character. But Belle is actually the one that saves the prince, so it's kind of a reversal in that sense. Part of why Belle isn't attracted to Gaston is that she likes to read. She wants to see and experience more of the world. It's part of the introductory song Bonjour, which introduces not just Belle, but also her little provincial town. The townspeople have expectations of the roles that people are supposed to play. She's regarded as being odd because she's different from the other young women in town, and she's not doing what everyone else does. And then you have her dad, who doesn't help her reputation, as he's an inventor, but harmless rather than a mad scientist kind of guy. Belle is beautiful, but is actually a combination of brains and beauty. Gaston ignores her intelligence and focuses solely on her beauty, thus he's oblivious to her disinterest. Juxtapose that with Beast in his castle where he lives with his servants. This castle and its inhabitants have been transformed due to him being shallow and conceited and really just an all-around mean guy when he was younger, which then resulted in them being cursed. He now has to have someone see deeper than his appearance and fall in love with him. The movie has a message about conceit and tolerance versus intolerance. It has multiple warnings about prejudging people based on their outward appearances. Compare and contrast Gaston and the Beast. Gaston is supposed to be a very handsome man's man, and the Beast is not supposed to be physically attractive, but I thought he was cute because he looks like a large, oddly shaped dog. At first, he's mean and aggressive with Belle, to the point where you wouldn't be inclined to spend time with this guy. Compare that to Gaston, who is portrayed as being this handsome god, but he's full of himself, he's arrogant, conceited. He's supposed to fit the archetype of the handsome man. His outward appearance really doesn't match what's inside. He might be physically attractive, but inside he's a very ugly person. He's also very intolerant and mean. Over time, there's a reversal of sorts. When Belle first meets Beast, he's portrayed as being mean. I actually don't think he was, because you might have some questions if some random person came into your house, sat in your chair, and not just a chair, but your chair. As Belle gets to know him, she comes to realize that over the years of this curse, Beast has grown as a person. Despite his outward appearance, deep down inside, he's actually a pretty good person. Even before she starts to take a liking to him, he might have been partially selfishly motivated, but he starts being nice to her. This is a change that Gaston is unlikely to undergo. Over the course of them living in the castle and spending time together, Belle and Beast get to know each other. I think part of Beast's initial reaction to Belle is some degree of insecurity. While he expresses that there's no way that she would take an interest in him, there's some hope. It's the hope of all the servants within the castle that maybe Belle and Beast might fall in love and she can help to break the curse. Gaston is an ugly person on the inside, and Belle sees through his physical appearance to see him for what he is. She's not enamored with him, and she knows he's not a good person and would not be a good husband. He's not anyone that she wants to be involved with. A lot of the story has to do with Belle being a good person who's not shallow or judgmental, her looking beneath the surface to realize that Gaston is not a catch, and then also her looking beneath the surface at the Beast to realize that under all that fur, there's a good person in that weirdly shaped dog body. I like that Belle is smart, and while beautiful, she's not vapid or shallow. She's not sitting around waiting for someone to come along and rescue her. She actually rejects the guy that would typically be like the Prince Charming. And then she essentially rescues not only the Beast, but all the servants at the castle. She's one of the Disney princesses of the 90s who has a less cliche storyline. Thus far, Beauty and the Beast is probably the greatest animated film that I've seen. Disney has slipped in recent years while DreamWorks and Pixar have released great films, but I still consider Beauty and the Beast to be flawless and just the complete package. The story is great, the animation is great, the soundtrack is incredible. I have the Beauty and the Beast song with Celine Dion and Peabo Bryson saved in my music library. I love The Lion King and the songs, but I'm not randomly bumping The Circle of Life in my car. They did a really great job putting this film together, and it deserved all the awards and nominations that it received. All these years later, all these viewings later, and I still think it's an absolutely beautiful movie. As a kid, the ballroom with its beautiful French doors through which you could see the stars and the library, it made me want to get rich as an adult so I could have something like that in my home. Beauty and the Beast is among an exclusive list of movies that I love to the point where I wouldn't just rely on streaming or rentals and instead purchase the DVD for my collection. I don't have kids, but if I did, I would hope that they like Disney movies and this would be one of their faves, so that way I would have an excuse to watch it all the time. I checked out the live action version right after rewatching the animated version to write this review. I was a little bit apprehensive about watching, but figured that eventually I would get around to watching the live action movie. I was actually quite impressed and unexpectedly surprised by how much I enjoyed it. It doesn't surpass the original animated version, but it does the film justice. For the most part, it remains true to the animated version, but they've added in a few songs that I was surprised to enjoy. I love the movie overall, but the start of the film with Bonjour being sang, like while Belle is walking through the town, is so cute. I love the melody and the flow of it. It's just tinsel across the board. Another of my favorites is Be Our Guest. The lyrics are cute and I love the visuals. The live action version did a really great job with adapting those songs. Overall, the animated version wins out as it's the superior of the two films, except for when it comes to the scene where the Beast and Belle dance to the Beauty and the Beast theme. When Belle and the Beast meet up in the ballroom, they're dressed up. He's in a nice blue jacket. She's wearing a yellowish, goldish gown. The wardrobe in the live-action version managed to look more striking and beautiful than the animated version. But again, the ballroom in the animated version wins out. It's just leaps and bounds ahead of the live-action version. The whole ballroom scene was just beautiful. The presentation of Belle and the Beast dancing in the ballroom is hands down probably my favorite scene in the whole movie from a visual perspective. The animated version does have an unfair advantage, as you can kind of do whatever you want with animation, but the creativity makes it a legendary scene. I can't think of many other animated scenes or scenes in movies in general that I find as spellbinding as that scene. It's probably like one of my favorite scenes in movies across the board. Obviously, this is a movie that I highly recommend, and I'm sure that most people have seen it already, but go ahead and watch it again. Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and check out my movie review playlist. Go ahead and click the thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.